let me know when you're
All right, after a wild event last week in Imola, we had multiple crashes, crazy battling, mixed conditions right at the end, and a crazy and wild winner in the end from Imola. We now move on from the wildness of Imola into the simplicity that is Catalonia in Spain. This is RPL F1 Season 9, where in round 6 of the championship, we are here in Spain. So, welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. As usual, Titan Ironwolf on comms today, but I'm not alone. And, I was streaming for a little bit. His talking didn't come up on the thing because I don't think he included his audio yet for the stream. But I am joined by Tier 2 and F2 commentator Ryan Alcon. How goes it? It won't let. Hang on. Let me find it. Should include it. Oh, wait, hang on. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay, try it.
All right, hello. There we go. Yeah, so he just Titan just needed to include
There
the
he
audio
is.
through
All right,
the
we're
broadcasting
good.
section. So there you go. But yeah, I'm to tell everyone what I said. I'm good. And I'm glad you have me here. Thank you.
No problem. So it's interesting. We have dual commentating on board for today. It's been a little while since we had a dual commentary in regards to F1. I believe the last time was Silverstone last season, where it was me and Beatnik teaming up together. But this will be interesting. So, review over from last week. In regards to Imola, like I said, wild winner. It was Darius that wound up picking up his first win of the season, and then it was Jack and Reese wrapping up the top 3. Those two in the Red Bulls. In the Drivers' Championship, has some interesting changes. The top 3 only separated by 9 points. Scyther leads the championship with 69, giggity. Reese is sitting in second with 66, and TB is sitting in third with 60. And in regards to the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull continues their lead with 162 points. Ferrari sits right behind in second with 126, and we did have a switch. It was Aston Martin taking third from Mercedes. Those two teams, by the way, Aston Martin 65 and Mercedes 53.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see that battle second on back now in the constructors. And the top 3 you said is what, 9 points? I mean, this is a good track to where that gap could either shrink or that gap could either extend. And I mean, think about the different factors with how you set up your lap now for qualifying. I mean, we all start in Q1, but there's no chicane now for the first time in Tier 1 for F1 for RPL. Or no, final chicane, I should say. There's still a chicane, but it's Sector 2. It's not really much of a chicane. And, it's the last 2 corners. With some cars, are going to be able to handle it flat out, and some cars aren't. That's what we might watch in this qualifying session. Who's going to go flat out there? Who's not? Who's going to lift just a little? I mean, that could all determine the difference in their qualifying laps. And I mean, this is well where it starts, 9 points is that difference you said. So we'll see how much that changes after today.
All right, so we have a full grid in for today's qualifying session. We have Q1, Q2, and Q3 to get through. So let's go over everybody that is involved for this event. So starting off, we have the Mercedes pair. It is Josh H. and Cryptic.
Both on inners right now, by the way, in the garage.
I'll just go with this. So Cryptic is in the Mercedes. George is in Aston Martin. Zakaria switches from Aston Martin to Williams. Florian in the Haas. Darius, last week's winner, in Ferrari. Beatnik Williams. Lewis Piper returns after missing out for a few weeks. He's in McLaren. Owen, AlphaTauri. Josh H, Mercedes. Reese, Red Bull. Red Fire, McLaren. Kipu, Williams. Scyther, the point leader, Ferrari. Tadpole, Alpine. Crispy, who has to serve a quali ban, he is in the Aston Martin. Same thing applies with Kipu, who just did that. Bonkers 5 in the Alfa Romeo. Stenner is his teammate. Gerard, Haas. TB in Red Bull. And Jack Miles in the AlphaTauri.
If you don't mind, I was going to say as well, you mentioned Zakaria in the Williams. Zakaria is in the Alpine, by the way. Just if anyone caught that, I thought I'd point that out. But yeah.
Yeah, I did say that because I said he used to be in Aston Martin, but now he's in Alpine.
Yeah, you said Aston to Williams.
I said Aston twice.
Yeah,
Oops.
Yeah, no, Aston to Williams. You said he went from Aston to Williams, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, did he notice yet? No, yeah, Zakaria in the Alpine. No, that's no.
Oopsie,
I found it, no,
fault.
you're good. You're good. Don't worry. I just found it so interesting because, not only. That's the Mercedes Academy, Aston to Williams, but now he's gone from one academy to the other. Alpine taking him along, and I've noticed in this league with Alpine have been, whether it's Tier 2 or even F1, they've been a lot closer to the front than I would say in previous times in RPL. There's many races where I would race Engineer Polo, I would race Engineer whoever, like many times ago, and you'll remember me as Red Raider in the chat from a while ago, Titan, but the thing is, during those times, I remember Alpine being miles off, well, not miles off, but the clear favorite of the midfield. Now they're the clear favorite of the midfield, but they're not far off the top either. So that's something interesting I always like to look out for when it comes to these races, and how close the gaps are.
Yeah, these cars have definitely been showing quite a bit in regards to the gaps and everything, but times are starting to pull on in. Beatnik was the initial with just a hair above a 14 flat. Florian 12.9, Bonkers with a 12.6, and TB currently fastest on the top with 11.8. Now, some interesting notes for some of the drivers here. TB, who's on top of the board right now, he is back in racing in for Red Bull. Wound up missing the last 2 weeks of Imola and Miami because of holiday. It's good to see him back, and we're looking forward to more clashes in the championship fight between him, his own teammate Reese, and Scyther in regards to the Drivers' Championship. Bonkers 5 only got, ironically, had just under 1 hour of practice of running no ABS. So Bonkers is just going at it sort of blind into the session.
That's when you take it balls to the walls at that point. You either take it balls to the walls, or it's your setback race where you have to be a little more careful as we see someone clocking a time. I think that might have been Grandpa or Bonkers. I don't know which one it was. It was either one. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, Gerard is actually second on the board, 12.5. That's 4/10 faster than his teammate. One driver that I'm watching over is George, aka Groggers. He got his time of a 17.8. Well, he probably made a mistake somewhere, so he's trying again. But he's on the medium compound tire. I'm noticing it on my screen.
Yeah, I see that too. The thing that I find interesting, by the way, is I think it's soft to hard. I'm trying to think of what the strategy is here. I think it's soft to hard, medium to hard, I think. So, is he thinking of going soft hard and using the medium up now in the race? That's the tactical thing about going on a different tire now in a session like this.
Yeah, I believe last week in Tier 2, I've seen a of guys wound up doing the medium to hard, and some of them actually did gamble with the soft to hard or hard to soft, and it did. I think if my memory's right, Owen was one of them that did that, the hard to soft or soft to hard strategy, and it actually paid off for him. Even though he didn't get the win, he was right behind his former teammate Groggers, but Red Bull was still 1-2, and Owen did execute that strategy pretty decently. And what I think is also a little bit strange is that with Groggers in the Tier 1 Aston Martin, one thing I think is a little bit strange is after Spain, he was leading the Tier 2 championship and then got full-fledged removed from the Red Bull Academy and is now in Aston Martin in Mercedes Academy.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if George making the leave from Red Bull to Tier 1 Mercedes was actually a good idea, or do you think it could have possibly backfired? That is my question. Anyways, looks like we got some more times following on in. We got Zakaria second fastest with a 12.5, Jack 12.8, Redfire 12.9, Owen also with a 12.9. Let's see. Oh, Owen's crashed, and he's got Reese too. Owen was in 8th place when this happened, but Reese is out of Q1. Well, I mean, don't forget, he did DNF, so he is basically out of the session entirely. So I'm just looking at it. Yeah, terminal damage for both Reese and Owen. So I would not be surprised if in the Red Bull Academy chat, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some arguing between Reese and Owen right now. Okay, so I'm actually gonna mention this piece because this is actually really funny. This is technically a challenge that was thrown down to basically the big 3 teams. Bonky just put in the Ferrari Academy chat, I wonder whether my pole time of 11.3 in Tier 2 is gonna be beaten tonight. That would actually be kind of funny if that would actually be kind of whack if Bonky didn't Bonky's time is faster than the Tier 1 guys.
Yeah. I know Beatnik was saying that he couldn't hear me. Is everything good now? I think I can hear myself now too. So yeah, what I was saying, if people did not hear me, I said yeah, Owen's time originally was 8th, and now his time is technically 13th if you take out the where he is in the leaderboard. With how fast is how fast is he, if that makes sense. The best he can start is 15th. He'll not be able to compete in Q2 if he gets through, which is quite obvious.
Don't forget, if you crash out because of terminal damage in Q1, you're basically done for the entire session.
You are, but you make
even if you get through to Q2, you're not going through.
You're not
It's
going
not
through
like
and
real
competing.
life
You're going
F1,
through,
unfortunately.
right, you're going through and you're being 15th, but you're not competing is what I'm trying to say. You kind
Correct.
of sort of clarified it, yeah. So right now, I mean, with where they're at in times, he's 13th, but it shows him 15th. So if he gets other people to beat that time, because see where he's at, there's a split between Beatnik and Lewis Piper, and you would think, oh well, Owens crashed out and he'd be 16th and Lewis Piper would be through, right? Well, no, they need to beat his time as well to get through now at this point. Because if Stenner clocks in a time, which I think he's on the track, Stenner is. Yeah, Stenner's on a
Yeah,
lap. And if
yeah,
Stenner
he
gets
did
at a
have a lap.
time,
He did have a lap, but he invalidated it somewhere.
gotcha.
But if he didn't invalidate it, he would have been P11. He had a 12.909, but it was invalidated.
So yeah, let's say that for example, if Stenner set in a time that's top 12 right now, because that's what he would need, Stenner would actually knock Beatnik to 16th, 14th to 16th, and I mean, some people realize that's how it works, but that's the thing. When someone crashes out in that scenario, it's kind of that battle between 14th and 16th, and it's very, very weird with how that is, because as we both documented, if Owen is sitting at a decent time, he can get through, but he will not be able to compete in following sessions. However, that means best he'll start is 15th. You know, and if everyone beats his time, then it's down to 16th or potentially at a worst 17th, because all the people who crashed behind him, Reese, Kipu, Crispy, they all didn't set times. So that's crucial to look out for too. Like Owen's gonna start either anywhere from 15th to 17th. So he kind of got a little lucky.
I'm thinking he will be in the 17th position possibly. I mean, we know in Reese's case, the worst he's going to be starting is 18th. Because, like I said, Kipu and Crispy, they were last second reserves, so they had a quali ban, so they had to retire in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just actually want to mention that piece for anyone that is confused as to what I mean by like last second reserves and stuff. So, just before we started the new seasons on this game in F123, it was brought up by Cryptic. We have a separate channel in our Discord that's for lineups, where the team principals will be putting down the lineups of who's going to be racing what in what division, yada yada.
Therefore, it's clear for everybody.
Those
too, as well.
lineups are going to be there, and then whoever's keeping an eye on it screenshots it 1 hour before the event. Now, if anyone becomes a reserve or any changes are made after that 1 hour cutoff, whoever is in that section, so let's say for example 35 minutes before a race, one of my Trident drivers backs out and I fill in for him, I have to start last in that race because I am a last second reserve. Makes things more fair for those that have been busting their tails, getting their stuff right, only for it to be outdone by someone that showed up last second.
Exactly, and it makes more sense to the rest of the field where it's like, you want to race last second, well, you already had someone in plan, and oh, they backed out. Well, someone who came in last second who wasn't originally going to be here is now ahead of me. Like, what the heck, you know? So, by the way, just to mention as well, with what I was mentioning about Owen and that whole thing, Lewis Piper just set a time, knocking Beatnik 14th to 16th. So now Owen is 15th properly, and they need to beat that time in order to knock him out to 16th and 17th potentially. So Lewis Piper, that was a good lap, by the way. And the thing that this does with the session, with the quality bans you mentioned, and the crashes that have happened, this provides an opportunity if you're an Alfa Romeo, if you're a Haas, if you're an AlphaTauri, potentially a Williams as well, such as Beatnik. If you did not think you had a chance of getting through, the next 3 minutes are your best chance of getting through with what has happened so far in this session. You didn't think you could get through out of Q1? Well, this opens the door wide open.
Indeed. Now, there is only one person that will be knocked out from this session, and a huge kudos to Lewis Piper, as you mentioned. He was like 16th at that before his lap came in, and he's up in the 5th with a 12.1. His time is actually really, really good, and Lewis Piper, this is his first full-time season in RPL F1, and he has been doing pretty stellar in regards to last season, because last season, Lewis Piper took advantage in Monza. He took advantage of a brawl between Reese and TB to wind up becoming the winner at Monza. And it was Alpine's first ever Tier 1 victory in RPL's history. And then, sure enough, 3 weeks later, FRT Flaw followed it up as well with Alpine's second victory, that being in Suzuka.
Fair play to them.
Now, we just have about 2 minutes left in Q1, and a lot of drivers are coming out right now. So,
Yeah.
Beatnik's back on track, Stenner's back out as well. Those two have to get a time. They're going to have to get themselves out of basically the bottom of the pile. They have to beat a 12.966 in order to get himself to, well, basically boot Owen into the bottom 5. But basically, in regards to running drivers, they have to beat a 12.921 of Florian in order to get it done. Speaking of Florian, he is on a time lap right now going through turn 9.
I was going to mention as well, if you were not out by a minute 30, maybe a minute 28, to just be careful. If you're not at the end of the pit lane there, maybe just getting out. If you were at the end of the garage, you're not going to be able to get on a lap. I think the last one who is going to cross the line on an out lap, I'm wanting to say it's going to be Grandpa, who is just behind Redfire. Well, sorry, who was in front of Redfire Tiger originally. Redfire Tiger originally was behind and just coming out of the pit lane, got ahead. So Grandpa's going to be the last one to make it to the flag and get into time for this qualifying session. So yeah, if you're 8th on back, I don't think you're safe, but maybe you are now with some people retiring. Here we go. Last 20 seconds to get a lap in or start a lap.
Absolutely. Florian just wound up crossing the line, and he wound up getting a time, of 12.801. That puts him 12th fastest, so he is possibly good and through. He is going to be good and through. One driver that could be at risk of being knocked out could be Jack.
By the way, 34,000 up in the middle sector by Beatnik. He's going to have to improve on this lap if he wants to get ahead of Owen or Redfire Tiger.
We're just looking on Beatnik now as he's coming out of the last corner now.
Flat out, foot to floor right there.
13.580 to finish it. And here he comes across the line, and he doesn't improve. But Stenner comes across, and it is 9th fastest.
I saw that coming. Knocks Owen out, so Owen is in the bottom 5.
Can take it easy because he is through to Q2.
Yeah, so can Florian. Florian knows coming into the garage, it's like, I'm good.
He just spun out and turned 12. Poor Red.
So that's both Williams out, by the way, in Q1, just to mention that. And if you want to add fuel to the fire, that's 3 Mercedes Academy drivers out as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Kipu and Crispy had to serve quality ban, so they're out. Owen and Reese wound up colliding for who knows what. They're keeping it hush-hush between themselves.
Yeah.
I
can't blame them.
Beatnik, the slowest of the field.
Yeah, Beatnik says he just wasn't going to go through. He's just too slow. And, you know, I can see with the way that Williams is set up, just not a beneficial track to get through in Q1. I could understand it. Williams obviously being a big straight line car, so I can understand that was the most you can get out of it there, Beatnik.
Yeah, I think Beatnik is not happy because he literally just put out that compared to the 16th place car, which was Owen, he says I'm half a second slower than the slowest guy to the next guy.
Damn.
But that's Q1 all set. So just like with Imola in Q1 last week, we have a Ferrari on top, a Red Bull second, and a Mercedes in third, with Scyther on top, TB second, and Josh third. And we'll be moving on into Q2 in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, the thing I noticed in that session that I want to point out is you look at the top 3 teams, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, and then you look at behind that. I'm taking the McLaren out of the equation for just a moment. You look at the gap from the bottom of the top 3 teams. It was 0.6 to Scyther. and then Zakaria was behind 9 tenths. The one who was able to sneak in there, like we gave a kudos to, Lewis Piper, was within that 6 tenth gap. So, you know, it's not gonna be too big of a surprise if he sneaks through into Q3 here in the next 15 minutes. And by the way, 11-5 at the top of the board. We can
Later
see a
on, I'm
10.
probably going to have to look at Reese's stream just to see what really happened between him and Owen, because
Oh, that should be
they're
fun.
looking at the Twitch chat and they're saying, Reese was saying, did you guys pick it up? And,
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
They said, we were saying we didn't. And Reese just goes like, probably a good thing that you all didn't.
Yeah. No,
And then-
it's embarrassing if you're a team principal there too, or just even a driver.
Yeah,
of
I mean,
any
Luke is
of the academy
probably
cars.
not going to be thrilled once he learns what happens, because he has like family over. But with Jack actively racing, he's probably not going to be happy.
I think they're gonna blame it on the fact that Luke wasn't here for one spectating, so they're gonna say how, it's because Luke wasn't here that there was a collision between them. That's unfortunate. I mean, if you're either TB or Jack now, you're just hoping you could just take that pain away and just get yourself into Q3. I mean, it's easy for Fake to do. For Jack, I mean, I would say he can do it, of course, but it depends on how you look at it. Is it less of a fight because of the amount of cars, or the competitive cars that are on Q1, or is it more of a fight because of what you have on your mind with two of the Academy cars crashing? I don't know. They'll have to show us what it's gonna be like with that in these next 13 minutes. And I'm gonna ask you now: do you think whether it becomes in this session or in Q3 we see a 10? Because Scyther set, or Scyther, doesn't matter. 11-5 though. Set an 11-5, and that was 3 tenths ahead of the next fastest car. So are we seeing a 10 whether it comes to be this session or Q3? Probably Q3, right? I mean, I would assume so. If we see a 10.
Ironically, if my memory's right from last week, I'm trying to remember. I'll have to look at it again, but I think the fastest lap from the entire session, like from the entire qualifying session, Q1, Q2, and Q3, the fastest time was actually set in Q2.
Interesting.
The Q3 pole time was actually slightly slower than the Q2 time, but then again, that was because Q3, everyone was getting their lap out because the rain showed up right in the middle of Q3.
So I'm looking at the tier 2 poll, and there was bonkers last week with an 11-3. Just to put that out there, by the way. So is there a chance we could see it? I mean, considering it's Skither and the Ferrari, there's a good chance. But with what you just said about Q2, Q3, it could be a shakeup too. I don't know. 2 drivers setting times, by the way, and there's 4 drivers not on track. It's the Haas of Grandpa, Alfa Romeo Stenner, Cryptic in the Mercedes, and Groggers in the Aston, the only drivers not out on track currently.
There's a couple of that are not out there. And here's a bit of a joke for you.
Oh God!
Just took a peek at the F1 drivers chat on Discord. Scyther just said, and I quote, "Owen definitely crashed into the pit lane again."
Oh yeah, I see that. Oh my God!
Ouch.
By the way, for those of you who just noticed my reaction to Skither's time there, that's less than 100th slower than the pole time in tier 2. So that's why I made that gasp there, because I knew it was around the time, but from the improvement we're seeing, we're either going to be barely outside of a 10 or we're going to be barely inside of a 10 with what we're seeing right now. So very interesting stuff on the racetrack right now.
Josh just put himself into the 11s with just a hair below a 11.8. So that's actually a pretty good lap from the Mercedes. Now Josh, a little small note with him. He has wins in both Tier 2 and in F2. In other gamer tags, if you don't know about what Josh H was also known as Wookie. That's what he was known as last time, if anyone remembers from their history. But yeah, currently Not bad for that Mercedes driver. We'll just have to wait and see what the others are going to be comparable to. Now, the Chiller was on a timed lap, but unfortunately he got the lap time deleted for exceeding track limits. Now, I'm going to be straight up. I think in regards to track limits, I can only think of 2 corners where track limits is probably going to be biting some of these guys in the tail. And that is probably going to be TV3, which is turn 8, and then the very next corner of turn 9.
Yeah, I think when it comes to battling as well, there's a couple other places to look out for just because the nature of racing and the way it goes. I think the third to last corner is what I'm looking at, because I noticed a lot in the F2 race earlier today. There was a lot of pinching in that corner when there was battles, and it was, you know, I'm gonna squeeze you to the curb, or I'm gonna put you in a position where you have to back out. And if they're staying side by side and trying to give room, someone's gonna run off in that part. And I saw a couple penalties happen from right there, whether it was by themselves or in a position where they had to back out at that section that Cryptic's now going through on the left side. If you just step over the boundaries right there in a battle, that's where it will bite you. I was wondering, have you seen what Beanick said about the medical car and the F2 car in the Twitch chat?
I just saw it. That's why I was trying not to laugh so hard while you were talking.
Oh, and by the way, we're faster than the Tier 2 pole time last week. 11-2 now for Skither. He went for a recharge.
So, Bonky, your team has been cracked.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm trying not to laugh from that. My
That's
F2 car fell faster than this. I could race the medical car and be faster per Beatnik. Ouch.
You know, I must say, he did do good in the F2 race, holding on to second there. And I have to give him quite a bit of credit for it, because he wasn't the fastest guy compared to Blonde. Blonde, I think, had everyone beat the whole weekend. And by the way, congrats to you on your your F2 podium. That what, eight seasons, 2 years? That's impressive. But
yeah, a little over 2 years ago was the last time. Season 9 in Baku, that was the last time, and it's the sixth F2 podium overall.
You know, but with Beanick, as I was saying, he held on to a good race. He was, you know, second clear as day, and yeah, I think that's the most we're gonna see from Beatnik today with that, because that Williams is a boat. But wait, what I was gonna say about F2, when you mentioned different podiums, that's your 6th podium, but we also had the 18th different podium sitter for F2 so far this season. That's how competitive our F2 is this season. So if you're not checking it out, I mean, I don't know what you're doing. I'm just saying that right now. It's quite competitive. So yeah, since you kind of gave us a little insight on that F2, Beanick, I'm glad we had to speak on that for a moment, because the competitive nature there is something you can't miss out on. Unbelievable.
Indeed. So back at it with our group here. So Scyther is leading it by over 0.5 of a second from Josh. Cryptic is sitting 3rd right now with a 12-0. TB sitting in 4th, unfortunately, with a 12-1. We just caught on with Stenner, who just put the Alfa Romeo 8th fastest with a 12-9. And George is now just going to be coming across the line now, and he is going to be, well, taking over Stenner's spot with a 12-7. And currently right now, 2 drivers have yet to come out to set a lap. That is going to be Darius and Gerard. Those 2 have yet to set a lap, and currently the slowest in Q2 right now is Florian in the Haas with a 13.5.
I'm surprised about that. I'm really surprised that they haven't came out, because I would have thought that if they're not going to save it for their last run and they're going to make 2 runs, they're going to wait till the traffic gets kind of out of the way, which was about a minute ago that it started getting out of the way, and they would have came out, did a run, and called it their quits. Probably the Chiller would have. And as for Grandpa, he could have maybe done 2 runs, but I think they're just going to have to save it for the last run then. They're going to have to rely on that. And it's, you either have to do what Skither did and do a lap, recharge, do another lap, and he even gone faster on that 2nd lap. Or you just go for the 1 run and hope you don't invalidate. That's what they're going to have to do at this point.
Speaking of Darius, he has actually just come back out onto the track now. The Chiller was out with the first group of the cars, but he had to go back to the pits after invalidating his first time lap. So after invalidating that, he had to go back into the pits, and he waited for a little while longer, and now he's back on the track with just under 5 minutes to go. I mean, there's still plenty of time to at least get a few laps on for this event. But yeah, anything could happen in regards to Q2. Now, one driver I think is a little bit surprising to see him currently in the bottom 5. That is the Alpina Tadpole. Normally, I see Tadpole hanging around in like the 6th to 9th area in most of the Q2 sessions I've seen him in. But him being in 11th right now, it's a little bit unusual to see him that far down.
Yeah, I'm wondering, did the transition from the F2 car to the F1 car not go as planned when it came to speed difference? You know, didn't do really all that great in the F2 race, if I'm being honest. He didn't have the best races. I think he had decent quali, but his race just didn't go as planned. And you would think because of that, F1 would have gone better so far, but it just hasn't. And you're gonna have to get out there soon enough. Because I think DeChiller, you got 3 other cars on track right now. He got out a decent time to be able to set this lap and get through. I mean, you got a clean racetrack, and you're gonna want to get out there soon before everyone else gets out there and maybe gets in your way to set a time. I mean, we only got what, 3 minutes left. So yeah. And by the way, DeChiller's going purple there in the middle sector.
And yeah, it's different because there is a couple other cars that are currently out on the track right now. Because we have Redfire, who is on a lap right now. Zakaria just finished his lap. He's 4th fastest, and look at the difference between him and Cryptic. They're separated by 1 millisecond, and before the Chiller's lap came in, Zakaria was 4th fastest in the Alpine.
Yeah, I mean,
but now the Chiller sets his lap with 11.7. Now, while I was spectating the Chiller, he did have a slip up on the exit of turn 2, went a little bit wide, so it cost him maybe a 10th or 2, but still, an 11.5, putting him 2nd, is actually pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, Zakaria didn't do that too long ago, too, and I mean, considering what I was going to mention earlier, Lewis Piper, best of the rest, right? Well, Zakaria takes that right over, and he's ahead of a Red Bull. I mean, fair play to some of these guys in the midfield who realize, you know, my race is not necessarily at the front, but they put themselves in a position to where it can be on some days and some tracks. So, fair credit to them, though, with that, I must say.
Absolutely. I mean, Zakaria last week in Imola was on point to looking for a podium up until he got disconnected right near the end of the race. And it really... Wait, yeah, no, he didn't get disconnected. It was Lewis Piper that got disconnected. But Zakaria was on point for a podium. But unfortunately, he got caught off because of that AI of Lewis Piper, and it basically cost him, I believe. Even with the penalty removed, he wound up finishing 5th, but Zakaria was on point to looking for a podium place. Unfortunately, he's going to have to wait a little bit longer for another one. Now, something that's a little bit kind of twisted, Zakaria in the Alpine, a little bit of weird history here. When I was the team principal of the Alpine Academy, for Season 5 F1, I planned on putting Zakaria in that Alpine car, but unfortunately, one of the co-owners at the time, Matt GW, believed that Zakaria wasn't fit for the Tier 1 driving standards. And sure enough, Redfire Tiger became the team principal of Alpine Academy, and I got stripped of TP because of the decision to put Zakaria in the Tier 1 Alpine. I thought it was a little twisted, but now with Zakaria in the car that he was supposed to be in basically 4 seasons ago, and putting himself in the top 5, I mean, it's been a long time coming, but Matt, suck it.
By the way, I'm just going to mention this right now. Lewis Piper's on track. He's 7th on the board. And he's the only guy on an outlap. Jack Miles made it to the flag with about 15 seconds remaining, but Lewis Piper's not going to make it to the flag now. And this could potentially have him out of the session because everyone else behind him, except for the Haas now in 8th, they're all improving, or they're all going to have a chance to improve on their laps because the checker flag's out, and we have fake TV at the 2nd now. But it's all going to happen behind that because it's 9th on back. We're battling to get into Q3.
Oh boy.
Fire Tiger couldn't improve.
Just watching Gerard, he got a little loose in Sector 3, nearly lost it twice, but kept it in control. Here it comes across the line, and it's only 12th fastest, so he is out, unfortunately.
It's the cost of not running 2 runs, too.
Here comes George. He's going to come across the line. He's 11th right now. Can he get into the top 10? Yes, he can. 8th fastest, and that knocks Red Fire out of Q2.
Bonkers is out. He's definitely not improving at all. It's Stenner who gets in. Stenner. Look at that. Now he's out. Oh, my God. Jack improved there at the last moment.
Stenner out. Tadpole's eliminated, too.
Yeah, we were just talking about it.
Hard to believe it.
I
Look at the difference between 10th and 11th. 7/100ths of a second, and a Haas of Florian. He got through to Q3.
Yeah, he missed. Lewis missed the flag, but Florian there, when he was on a lap, he aborted it, and I thought for myself, I was like, it's either going to be Lewis or Florian who's out here, and it was Florian who actually gets in, and I'm surprised by that. He held on there at the last moment. I'm shocked. I really am. And both Alpha boys, I mean, Bonkers wasn't improving on lap, but his teammate was. It's Stenner, and Stenner did it perfect, but it just was not enough.
Now, speaking about with teammates, like I said, Bonkers is actually the slowest of the Q2 group. So it is Stenner. So it's Stenner, Red Fire, Gerard, Tadpole, and Bonkers out of Q2. And going into Q3, we have Scyther, TB, DeChiller, Josh, Cryptic, Zakaria, Jack, Lewis Piper, George, and Florian into Q3.
The only teams that we don't have in here are Alpha Romeo and Williams, by the way, for Q3, just to put that out there. Sorry to cut in.
Yeah, it's all good. And Stenner just said he just lost 3/10 out of 4. Out of turn 4.
Oh, that'll do it. 11-2 from Scyther at the top of the board. It's down to 2/10 now. It's 3/10 last session, but it's down to 2. So we're getting somewhere here.
Okay, I just saw it briefly, but I just saw a couple of cars. They were stuck right behind the safety car. The safety car was on the track.
Oh my God. It's another glitch. No surprise.
I've never seen the safety car come out in a qualifying session. I've never seen that happen.
It's probably Beatnik.
That's funny.
Beatnik, if you're watching, I don't know why you got in the medical car, but if you thought it was faster than Williams, then I do not blame you. But speaking of Williams and Alfa Romeo, 2 teams that were not in Q3 here. Everyone else is, but those 2 teams. And the only repeat teams you have is Mercedes and Ferrari right now. So fair play to them to try to take some constructors' points away from Red Bull. They have the chance now to do so. So 12 minutes, Q3 underway. Time to go for pole. Who are you thinking of the top 3? A little too early predictions right now. You have to include Skither, my opinion. I'm gonna say a Mercedes gets in there. Don't know which one, and I'll say DeChiller. I'm kind of putting Fake TB just a little under the radar, but I think it's just gonna be so close for that top 4. I think Fake TB will be there too in the top 4, but he'll be 4th. That top 4, I just think it's just gonna get closer now because it seems like throughout the sessions we've got closer on times. It didn't start out that way, but it finished that way where it was 3/10 originally, then 2/10. It's balls to the walls now. Whatever you're hiding, don't hide it anymore.
I'm actually going to be going extremely insane when I say this. But, I mean, obviously, I'm going to safely agree. I think Scyther is going to be pole position. I'm going to say for second, DeChiller is going to get second. But for third, I'm going insane.
Okay. Zakaria, probably.
And
Yes.
he is just crossing the line to start his time lap.
Yep.
I am actually going extremely chaotic. I think Zakaria could get third place.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say him. He's been impressive throughout the sessions, I must say. He was best of the rest, excluding Lewis Piper from that, because he was in that top 5-6 area originally in Q1. Then it became Zakaria who was best of the rest, and he's been impressive. He had that nice little battle throughout the field in F2, and he's bringing it here. The only guy not on track so far is the Chiller, but now he's exiting the pit lane, so we have all 10 cars on the racetrack. Gonna set a lap for Q3. They're gonna set bankers, and they're gonna set final laps for pole. How about that? Unlike Q2, we have everyone out on the track to start out with, and we get to see who is hiding what. You know, were the Mercedes hiding something even though they were up there? Was Fake TB hiding something, only being 2/10 off now, being the guy in second? Or is Scyther still got a little bit to show as well in the Ferrari? I mean, it's all to play here in this qualifying session for pole. Zakaria is going to set the first lap, and it's going to be a 12-1, but the question now becomes, will we get a 10? We're now in 11-9, and the McLaren comes across the line. That is Lewis Piper. He's just starting a lap.
Next up is going to be Jack, and he comes across, and it's going to be a 12-6. George is just starting his time lap. Same with the Chiller. Next up is actually going to be TB.
Florian's actually crossing the line.
Oh, I forgot. I missed Florian. I
Jack.
didn't see his blip on the marker, but 12-7 for him.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they know what they're fighting for. The midfield guys are fighting for 6th, and the rest of the guys they're fighting for 5th. Oh, there we go. 11-8. Pick TV. The Red Bull at the top, and now it's the Mercedes. It's Cryptic, I believe. Cryptic betters that. 11-7.
That's like the second time that's happened. We had Zakaria put in his time lap, only for it to be smacked out of park by Josh.
This is going to be smacked.
Then TB responds.
We are
there we
just
go again.
off the 10s.
Oh my god!
We are just off the 10s. 11-0 there for Skither. Almost 11 flat.
Wow.
I told you we were going to get to a 10. I was thinking it. But, you know, we're already better than Q2. It's by like 2.5 tenths each time, it seems like. I don't know. But pole surely has
over
to be
2 tenths.
I know.
And we're over 3 tenths faster than the Tier 2 pole time.
I know. We're surely going to get into a 10 at this point. You have to think we're going to. I believe that was Groggers who said in time. 6th fastest. Yeah.
Indeed. The only one left to set his time is the Chiller. He's currently going through turn 5 as we speak.
It's going to be second. Look at that. 6 tenths. Skither has the field over. And it's his teammate.
Oh, yeah, I was on Skither. That's where I was. Oops. My bad.
Wow.
I mean, literally, I thought it was silly because I was on the Chiller, but it showed Scyther in turn 5.
Yeah. You know,
the
thing
game's
I'll
a little
say-
screwy.
The thing I'll say is, I think for most of these guys, it's clear with the Mercedes, the Red Bull, and the Ferraris. They're fighting for the top 5. Zakaria can maybe get in there. Groggers maybe. Lewis Piper maybe. But Jack Miles and Florian, they know for sure that their fight. And maybe I'm BSing a little bit with Jack Miles because I know he's very talented. I think their fight is definitely for 6th on back, just because of where this is, with the kind of qualifying session we have. The top teams, it's top 5. The midfield teams and the bottom teams, you're fighting 6th through 10th. But if you could sneak in, that would be great, and it would definitely shake things up. And it's a Ferrari 1-2 right now. How about that?
Indeed. Now, unfortunately, TB has been on his own basically this entire qualifying session. Because if you're just joining us, Reese was knocked out in Q1 after a collision with Owen. We're still trying to figure out what led up to that.
We'll probably figure it out in the storage room, if anything, at most.
We'll have to look at Reese's stream leader to figure that part out.
If not, it'll be the stream, like you said, yeah. I was going to say,
Yeah.
Listen to Beatnik's prediction here, okay? For the top 3. You got Skither, you got Josh, who's the only one out on track, and then you got TB being in his top 3. I don't know if that's an order, I'm going to assume it is, but the Chiller, who's currently in the top 3 right now, wouldn't be in Beatnik's prediction. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, so far off my prediction, currently, like I said, I have Scyther for the pole, the Chiller second, and I got Zakaria for third. I got two of my drivers in the top 3. Just need Sicaria to slam down another half a second in order to put himself in the top 3.
I mean, if you're going to beat Skither, you're going to have to pull out an enormous lap, and already a 10th improvement from Josh. So, Beatnik, your prediction right now, it's looking okay for Josh to be in the top 3. Purple Sector 1, I don't know how true that purple is compared to the other drivers on the leaderboard. If he's purple, I mean, he's purple on his personal best, but is he purple compared to the other drivers? So that's the question. We'll find out through Sector 2 here. DRS applied. Heavy braking zone here at, what is it, turn 10, I think? The gap? 4/10.
Yes.
So 5/10 off the leaderboard right now compared to Skither. So he would be second right now if he continues without any mistake. And 3 more corners to go. Right here, the left side is your worry about track limits, mainly in a battle. Penultimate corner, basically full throttle for him. Does he go balls to the walls here? Just barely lifts up, comes to the line. DRS applied. It is going to be front row, but he's 3/10 off though. So closer than anyone's been so far, at least in Q3, and ahead of DeChiller.
Indeed. I mean, back in Q2, Scyther was ahead of second, I believe, by over 4/10. This is the closest that anyone's gotten to Scyther in regards to this qualifying session, and it's done by Mercedes. And this is probably going to give Mercedes some hopes into thinking maybe they could try to upset. Maybe, who knows? I mean, could they steal pole? We never know.
They're the only one with both cars closest to the Ferraris. I mean, you mentioned Fake TB doesn't have his teammate right there. Even Sicaria doesn't have his teammate right there. You know, and that's the big question. Who can get within those Ferraris? And it looks like the Mercedes can. And I'm interested to see here in the next, I'm going to say 45 seconds, if anyone else goes out and track, then to sit here and say, I'm going to start a lap, and I'm going to see if I can have no traffic on it, get it done quickly, or if I invalidate the first time, I can be able to have the final one to do it. And it looks like there's a Ferrari on track. Is it Scyther, or is it DeChiller? It's DeChiller. So yeah, there you go. It's interesting to see.
And Scyther's coming out right behind.
Yeah, look at that. Oh my goodness.
I think with the gapping, I'm thinking DeChiller is gonna get his lap in, and then once he gets done with his time lap, if he's actually quick enough, maybe he might help Scyther out somewhere. Yeah, possibly.
And they're in a prime position to do that though, because
Florian's coming out now too.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe all 3 Ferrari guys could be kind of helping each other in some way. Maybe not the way they are, but they might not be helping each other directly, all 3 of them, but they're helping themselves with the traffic positioning though. And there's still 7 guys to not be at the end of the pit lane, and we're gonna find out who comes out the latest, because if you're not out there, I'm gonna say by 1:30, then you're just basically kind of screwing yourself, just because traffic worries. Like Jack Miles came out with 1:30 something, and he crossed the line with backing off a couple times with anywhere from 15 to 12 seconds remaining. So if you have any traffic issues, you want to get out in the next 20 seconds. And race engineers, let them know, you know, let the drivers know, where are these guys on the track compared to their rivals? Who's going to cross the line last? Because if Skither improves his time or doesn't improve his time, there could still be somebody to improve their time who is behind them. And now we're going to find out, as I think all but 1 car is out on track, and now that's Groggers, the last one. He is really putting it to the edge. 121 as he hits the end of the pit lane. So he is cutting it close.
Yeah, he is kind of really close. I don't know if he will make it in time.
He has to just go. He has to go
put positive if he can or not. But Darius right now is only 200ths up after Sector 2. So he's going to remain 3rd for the time being, unless he does something really strong in Sector 3.
Has to find the time. He's got to get a toe.
He's got Red Bull right ahead of him.
Wow, what a toe.
That 30 air may not hold him off, but it's an improvement, but just still 3rd place right now.
That might cover off anyone beating him for 3rd, though. That's why it's important with that little toe he got. I know it's dirty air, but that still helps him to some extent. And is he going for another one? I don't think so. It looked like he was, but he isn't.
I don't think he is, because he's probably burned through a lot of his ERS. But looking at the timing, Lewis Piper just crossed with 22 seconds left.
Groggers
Jack
is
is
going
going
to
to get there close to the 15 seconds.
Groggers is going
There
to get
comes
there.
Scyther right behind.
He put it foot to the floor. There you
And
go.
we're in the 10s.
7. Oh my God. Yeah, you got to beat that one. And he gets to the line. Groggers does with 5 seconds remaining. Wow.
Yeah, it looks like Florian's going to be the first to... actually, no. Florian just made it in time.
Yeah, so he must have either invalidated or backed off and then set himself up for this one. So we got lucky with that. First card across the line, fake TB. He was the one who gave the slipstream there to the Ferrari. 2/10 up right now.
He's, a quarter of a second up after sector 2. It's only going to put him fourth, but here he comes across the line.
Whoa!
And it's second.
Oh, he improved in that last
Let's see if
sector
Josh
a lot.
has a response. No, Josh is off in the penultimate corner.
The Chillers too. The
So
Chillers back off.
Josh can't
Oh, that's
answer.
right.
What about Cryptic? Oh, Cryptic's too slow.
Oh.
So it looks like Scyther is a shoe-in for pole position. I
Zakaria's
wonder
not
what
improving either.
Zakaria's got on him.
No, not improving.
I don't think he'll get pole, but I think he'll see if he can pull a major upset.
He's gonna have to find in sector 3 Zakaria. He
Comes
was not
across the
improving.
line.
Yeah, no.
It's only 7th.
Oh. Jack Miles improved, but not a place. It's only down to these two to maybe improve. I think Rogers is off. He's invalidated.
Yep.
Florian is up by a 10th, so if he can find time in this last sector, he might go 9th. He might go 8th. What can he do? He improves,
Only
but
10
not in
fastest.
position.
It's just slightly off of Jack, but Scyther on pole. So we got our pole people right. I mean,
Yeah.
on mine, I only got 1 of 3.
I said a Mercedes was going to be in there. I didn't say fake was going to be in there. I said he was going to be fourth.
I mean, in no particular order. Beanick just got his top 3 perfect.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And by the way, we mentioned it's a 4/10 gap, almost a 5/10 gap, but it's almost a 7/10 gap over his teammate. So, Ferrari downforce helping you out quite a bit around Spain, and pretty good driver behind that wheel.
And we just found out about Zakaria. The reason his time was not as good was because he spun out on his outlap and his tires were overheated. So that's why he couldn't get a time. He couldn't get a better time.
I mean, he probably would have been 6th with the way he was going because of that. I think that's probably all he had. He would have been right behind Cryptic. With where he was in the charts. I mean, he was only down, I think, a 10th by the end of that lap when he crossed the line, so he wasn't too far off of his first lap, so he had some time in it, but it would only been enough for 6th. Like I said, the top 5 would battle it out between each other. 6th on back, that's your midfield battling it out within each other, and they've done just that. Here you go.
Indeed. So yeah, Scyther winds up getting pole, just nearly half a second faster than TB. Josh is 3rd, and the Chiller, Scyther's teammate, just 7/10 off from his teammate, but Ferrari won 4 at that moment. Red Bull having to deal with 2 and 18, and Mercedes to round out the big 3, 3 and 5. So this is going to be, I mean, for the top 5, I mean, literally, it's going to be a hodgepodge on what is going to happen, to say the least. And then look at from 6th to 10th. They're separated by only 15, basically 0.15. That's how much of a difference they were separated by. Just a 10th and a half.
So the thing about them is, that's all for points positions over Red Bull, who's starting toward the back. So are they thinking, how long am I going to hold on? Or are they thinking their race to hold on is all within each other? Who knows? It's all up for grabs here within 33 laps of Spain.
Absolutely. So we'll go over our grid here as I got on my screen here. So the back row, it is going to be Crispy and Kipu. Row 9 is Reese and Beatnik. Row 8 is Owen and Bonkers. Row 7, Tadpole Gerard. Row 6, Redfire Stenner. Row 5, Florian Jack. Row 4, George Zakaria. Row 3, Piper Cryptic. Row 2, DeChiller and Josh. And familiar faces, Scyther and TB making up the front row.
Soft, hards, medium, hards. Which way is everyone gonna go? Hard, medium, hard, soft. Do you want to get the hards out of the way now? Or do you want to do something else? Let's find out from our drivers in just a moment.
We'll be seeing in just a couple of seconds as hopefully, well, we can't see it on our end because that's one of the bad things is for this game, for the commentators, we can't see the countdown of when the session is going to be. So we're just waiting on people, and we'll be good to go.
By the way, big day for Ferrari to get 2 cars in the top 4 compared to Red Bull. The gap in that constructors, 36 points. So, big chance for them to score some big points. Here we go.
Absolutely, the 5 lights come on to start the RPL Spanish Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go. Good reaction time from Seidler as they head down and comes across the cover against TB as they head down to turn number 1. Josh trying to put some pressure into the Chiller, who's trying to make a move into second place. Gets a little tap from the Chiller and keeps trying to keep it ahead. The Chiller does get ahead of Josh into turn number 3, and more cars are just filing and sliding themselves into position. Piper getting himself in the 5th, and we got a car in the background going off. That is Red Fire. Yeah, and contact in the midfield between Gerard, Jack, and I believe Florian as well. As the midfield is just compiling over together, and we got multiple cars getting bumped around.
Florian was the one.
And Reese, unfortunately, has just wound up getting himself into the 16th position.
Yeah, Red Fire and Florian. Sorry to cut in. Yeah, Red Fire and Florian were the ones who made contact at turn 2. And there was more contact done at turn 5 between a Haas and an AlphaTauri. It just tons of contact on the opening lap, all trying to find their braking points at the right position. But how about Lewis Piper there at that start, right in the back of the Mercedes right here, taking everything he can, and 10 positions for Crispy.
Yeah, Crispy started all the way in the back of the grid. He's up into 10. And Cryptic, by the way, started in 5th. He's plummeted all the way down to 13th.
Yeah, it seemed like there was just an accordion effect. Anywhere from turns 1 through 3 and maybe into 5 is where it kind of got settled out. More so within the midfield. I don't know what happened to Cryptic, but contact in front of Cryptic. That was Tadpole and Bonkers. Bonkers has to go off the road, and he's going to lose 2 places in the process.
Yeah, Bonkers going to the escape road of turn 2, and Crispy winds up getting clear of Jack into turn 4. That puts Crispy up into 9th place. Now, we do have 2 cars in the pits. That's Red Fire and Kipu after their contact and banging in the opening lap. And Reese just cleared Bonkers.
Yeah, that was almost contact.
Into the 13th position.
That was almost a repeat of what just happened between the AlphaTauri and Haas a lap ago. Reese was lucky that he was just barely ahead. But the 2 Haas boys now fight it out. One's got a penalty. Grandpa, I think that's a 3-second it is. Must have been for track limits.
Indeed. So I'm just taking a look at the tires quickly. So Florian, Bonkers, Cryptic, Jack, Stenner, Zakaria, Piper, DeChiller, and TB are all on the hard compound tires. Everyone else is on the softs. I'm not including Red Fire and Kipu because they already had to do a stop. So I'm not sure what... Trying to fight to stay in the points. He's got Tadpole on his inside, now outside. But Jack stays just ahead of Tadpole to maintain his 10th place.
Yeah, fight it back in the race as Tadpole. Tadpole having a bad qualifying. Now going to go down the inside of turn 4, side by side. This is close quarter racing. Tadpole getting the better edge. And he does have the inside line now for turn 5. How about that? You know, it looked like a bad qualifying. Looked like he was nowhere. You're echoing. But he's now recovered it in the race, gaining some spots, it looks like. Yeah, he's gained 4 spots. So kudos to him and Stenner as well. Stenner, we mentioned, barely out in Q2, heading into Q3. He's up there as well to 8th. Reese and Cryptic now. 12th place. Reese is around the outside now, trying to hang it. Cryptic's got that outside line, inside line for Reese at the 3rd to last corner. Gonna pinch him right here. Might see some contact. Luckily, they keep it clean.
Indeed, so Reese jumps himself up into 12th place. He's just got a couple more cars to get past to get himself into the points. And one of them is his Jack Miles. So Jack is probably going to be, once Reese gets close enough, Jack is just going to move out of the way and just let his teammate through. So that means Tadpole, within a lap or so, he's going to be feeling the pressure of Reese right now. Meanwhile, a little bit further up front, Josh is trying to put some pressure onto DeChilla right now for the third place spot. And meanwhile, Scyther is still keeping his lead slightly constant, 0.6 of a second over TB right now.
The good thing about that with fake TB is he's got DRS now on lap 4 heading into the last sector. You know, being within DRS right here is probably the most crucial thing in the sector 3, because that is one of the parts where the Ferrari handles the best, it seems. Whether it was last game, this game, the Ferrari with the downforce sections, and I mean the Red Bull is like that too, but the Ferrari more so, is able to just power itself so much in the last sector. Being within DRS here is going to be the most crucial thing for Fake TV to hold up in this race, especially with his teammate getting spots too, because the Constructors' Championship, 36 points, that gap, not having your teammate up there, big thing. And a big thing right now going down the inside, gets the move done before turn 1. How about that? I told you DRS was going to be a big factor, and it was.
What a fireball move, and we have a crash in the final corner. It is Owen off and done. That is going to be our first safety car of the event. But what a maneuver by TB. Sent a shot down the inside, right at the 150 brake marker board, and he takes the lead from Scyther. And that is the first lead change of the race.
Yeah, TB's probably saying, he's probably saying, I'm glad
while we have everything calmed down for the safety car, we have our top 10 currently up until any pits that happen. It is TB leading with Scyther second and Josh in third. And then the rest of our top 10, it is DeChiller, Lewis Piper, George, Zakaria, Stenner, Tadpole, and Crispy to round out our top 10.
Yeah, Fake TV's probably saying, I'm glad you waited right there. I'm glad you waited till I got in the lead. You're echoing, by the way. I just want to let you know that. I don't know if you fixed that again, but I'm interested to see with the medium guys, are they going to make pit stops? The hard guys, are they going to make a pit stop so maybe make it a 2-stop?
Well, TB is coming in.
Yeah.
Now, TB is one of the hard tire runners, so this is actually going to be maybe slightly unusual, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, TB, even when he was in Ferrari last season, there have been times that TB has made unique and very different strategy calls, and a lot of times those unique and very different strategy calls have worked out to his benefit. I mean, that's why TB is our defending champion.
Yeah, Cryptic and Grandpa also pitted with him as there with them there as well. So that's something to look out for. Look out for within the safety car restart to see how many positions they gain. You know, by the way, Redfire Tiger, who came in on the opening lap for damage, I believe, same with Kipu. Redfire Tiger's coming in now, probably to change off those tires, or maybe a front wing if he's had something happen. It just looks like it's tires, and it's just soft tires.
Well, that's a very interesting choice. And I just checked the Tier 1 driver chat. Looks like the slight curse has hit again. So Friday in Tier 2, which unfortunately was not streamed, Bonkers crashed out of third because of a wheel failure. His wheel disconnected. It has just happened to Owen. That's why he crashed in the final corner. His wheel disconnected.
If AlphaTauri's day, well, I should say the Red Bull Academy too, if their day could not get worse, then I don't know what's going to make it just heart-wrenching, because it's just not been good from the start, especially for Owen. Owen had the collision with his teammate in qualifying, I believe, or not his teammate, but the academy driver, academy driver, whatever you want to call it, and Red Bull in qualifying already started back there, and his wheel disconnected at probably one of the worst parts of the track too, and that was at the final corner.
And Cryptic's back in the pits, by the way. And looks like Scyther's a little bit bored. He's going alongside with the safety car. I think Scyther's just a little bit bored.
So Cryptic got damage under that safety car is why he's pitted. So he must have ran into somebody. Someone must have checked up a little too much. So that's the cause for Cryptic pitting again, by the way. But that just Mercedes looked like they were pretty good with 2 cars up there, and now they just have 1 car up there, and it's only 1 car who can fight those Ferraris now. For now.
Indeed. So taking a look at our top 10 currently, a couple interesting individuals of where they're placed at. The Aston Martin pair, George sitting in 5th, Crispy sitting in 9th. So Aston Martin, despite having one having a band to serve and another having a basically being right smack dab in the middle for Q3, the Aston Martin pairs have actually been doing pretty strong so far in this opening stretch of this Grand Prix.
In the most of a bad situation, it sounds like. You know, and if you don't mind, I was going to mention on the safety car, after today, make sure you catch us for the action next week. Tier 2 being at Qatar or Texas, I don't remember which one. One of the tiers is at, I don't have it right in front of me, but one of the tiers is at Texas, one of the tiers is at Qatar. And Titan, where's tier 1 next week?
This one's a doozy. If I read it correctly, tier 1 next week's gonna be at the streets of Monte Carlo. They're gonna be in Monaco next week.
Here we go, back to the green.
Safety car is gone. We're back underway in the Spanish Grand Prix. Scyther leads the charge ahead of Josh H., who had a slightly poor reaction time to Scyther's getaway. Scyther already 6/10 up, and Lewis Piper going on the outside against trying to fend off George for the 4th place spot. George tried to sneak a peek on the inside, but just can't seem to get it done. Now he's becoming vulnerable to Zakaria, who goes down, thinking about going down the inside, but changes his mind into turn 4. But George tried to sneak a peek to get himself into 4th place, but just couldn't get it done. Here comes Stenner now down the inside into turn 5. Little wheel-to-wheel action between the two, and Stenner has crawled up into 6th place now.
Good start from him, good start from Groggers, by the way, in this race, and that slide from Groggers, it just did not help there at turn 3. You could just see what the Dirty Air is doing to these guys, whether it's on the restart, following cars, maybe even alone, just not the setup helping you right there, and you can see more jockeying behind that. But yeah, Groggers, he got a good restart, but it just did not help when he was in the position he was at turn 3, as we see more positions trading.
Absolutely. The Red Bulls of TB and Reese wound up switching, so TB is now up in the 9th after clearing Tadpole. By the way, Crispy, I was on board with him. Tadpole had a bit of a lag spike, and there was actually a lag collision between Crispy and Tadpole. Tadpole had to wound up falling down to 11th, and Crispy, taking advantage of Tadpole's lag, is up in the 8th and is trying to challenge Zakaria to try to get 7th.
Yeah, that contact with Crispy and Zakaria was so close. Is TB going to make another move around the outside? Oh, off the road he went, and he's still going to hold it here for turn 4. He's getting pinched in the process. The yellow flag's the back. That's Florian, but around the outside, TB once again. That's the 2nd time he's pulled around the outside, and here comes the sister Red Bull. Or sorry, not the sister Red Bull, the Red Bull teammate to go with him. It's all kicking off.
Contact between Reese and Crispy exiting out of 5. Now TB was TB had to wait a little bit to get the overtake done on Crispy, who just went off into the gravel. But TB out of turn 3 had all 4 wheels off the track, but managed to stay behind, and Florian has crashed out of 5, and that's our 2nd safety car.
That was easily going to be a safety car with how close he was to the track. I didn't see what was happening, but he spun earlier in the lap and was just struggling. His race has just gone down the drain right there, and we have some cars pinning in the process.
Yeah, Scyther, Josh, George, Crispy, Tadpole, Jack, they're heading in now. Bonkers and Red Fire as well. Now, the Chiller stayed out, so he will inherit the lead of this event. Lewis Piper sitting in 2nd, and Stenner is sitting 3rd.
Yeah, so...
Now, what I was mentioning a little bit ago was that out of turn 3, TB had basically all 4 wheels off the track while attempting to make the overtake on Crispy. Had to wait to get back onto the racing circuit, the racing surface, in order to complete the overtake, and he did do so. He did do that, so TB, I mean, I think with him going off just a little bit, he may have probably gotten a track limit warning for that, but he did make a successful legal overtake about a corner and a half later.
So my question becomes, from onwards about that too, is what do the stewards say? Because if TB feels he was forced out right there from the Aston of Groggers, I think, yeah, I believe it was the Aston. If he feels like he was forced out there and wants to get it removed, then we'll see what the stewards do say about that, because that argument could be provided too. A lot of pinching at that turn 3 corner on restarts and in general. When we saw that, I was thinking, you know, he's not going to hold it. Surely he did. He held it all the way to turn 4. Contact made, and yeah, if he feels like he was forced out, we'll see if it goes to the steward's office. But out of the guys who pitted, everyone went for hards except for Jack Miles and Bonkers, who all went on the mediums right there. And Redfire went back to the hards, by the way, from the softs too. Put that out there for the record for those of you who are interested in his strategy.
I'm just looking at the pit stops here for these drivers here. Just taking a look under the stop section of the spectator menu. There's only 6 drivers that have yet to make a stop in this race right now. Those 6 is the Chiller, Lewis Piper, Stenner, Zakaria, Reese, and Beatnik. Those 6 are the only ones yet to make a stop so far in this session.
Yeah.
This is our second safety car of the event. That was for Florian crashing out of turn 5. And then Owen, earlier, back on lap 4, crashed out after his wheel completely failed on him.
So, Connor wants you to show the tires, by the way, just for an FYI. Another thing I'm going to mention as well, I mentioned it last safety car. I'll clarify it this safety car. So, next week for RPL F1, we're in Monaco, that being for the 7th round. F2 next week, we're at Qatar for the first time in RPL. That should be tons of fun. That's the 6th round, because remember, Portimao was canceled, so that makes it 10 rounds. And then for Tier 2 next week, it's in Austin, Texas for Circuit of the Americas, round number 7, safety car in the slack. Here we go.
Indeed. Now, as you just mentioned, for RPL F2 being at Qatar, this is going to be the first time for the RPL F2 drivers. Now, for a couple of the F2 drivers, they already have experience with Qatar, because Qatar was the season opener for Tier 2 about a little over a month ago. But anyways, I'm on board with Lewis Piper. Let's see how he reacts to the Chiller taking off. He takes off right the exit of the final corner. Little bit behind on the restart, but we're back on the way here in Spain. The Chiller roars off with the lead. Currently half a second ahead. TB overtaking Stenner to get himself into the 3rd place spot, but Stenner's fighting back into the turn 1 braking zone.
Oh, they're side by side now. Turn 2. Big TB gonna pull another move, just sticking it in there. And Josh and Kipu, there was some contact there, I think, because Kipu's down the order. Zakaria, I think, down 2 places as well from potentially a bit of contact or a slide at turn 3. I think turn 3 is catching everybody out today. And another thing to mention as well, on that restart, in the back of the pack, midfield, there were some guys who had to check up, let off the gas, and not hit the guys in front because of the small stack up from just the time the leader went. So I don't think it's anything big, but they just had to be careful and not run into each other. Now Phoenix continues to
we got a
crash! Stenner is the one involved, and it's his teammate. Was it his teammate? No, it's Reese. Reese as well.
Reese involved.
Oh boy.
If my memory's right, Reese was in 5th at that moment.
And
Stenner was there with them, and it must have been a collision between. There was definitely a collision between those two. Seidler, by the way, is up in a 4th. He was in 9th just before that collision.
He's gonna have to pit. He's got cars holding up
was
here.
Back there as well. And TB, we just got in time. He is in there, and we got another crash.
Yeah,
this time it's Gerard.
Sorry to cut in. He had no
in the final corner.
There. He had no front wing.
He was sitting there on the racing line.
He was holding up some cars and trying to get in.
I think Gerard went to pit, and he crashed in the pit lane wall.
Yeah, he was holding up some cars right there, and he was trying to get to the pit lane, but are too fast. It was just not enough, and unfortunate circumstances right there for him, because he was trying to get to the pit lane. holding up some cars. It was a mess. It was a mess right there with whatever happened before that. Because he got
I'm
damaged
actually
from
just
that.
going to interrupt for just a quick second.
Go ahead,
And we
go
just
ahead.
noticed about, I mentioned about with Reese and Stenner when they collided. I think Cryptic is also involved too, because Cryptic has damage on the right side of the front wing. Because Cryptic does have damage to his Mercedes. Because he was in 5th, he had to switch with Josh, and George wound up overtaking him. Now he's under pressure from Sicaria.
Yeah, I'm gonna check throughout the field and see if anyone else has any damage from that, because Grandpa was the only one who was not at the back of the pack after it all figured itself out. Cryptic going to the pit lane. That's
We have a new
obvious.
leader.
Here we go.
TB just overtook the Chiller in before the braking zone of turn 1. TB has taken the lead back from the Chiller. So TB leading the charge. Lewis Piper sitting in 3rd, but Scyther is right behind to try to reel Lewis Piper in, try to get himself into 3rd. I don't think Scyther wants to stick behind Piper for too long because he wants to catch up to TB.
By the way, that's also on fresher tires that fake TB passed to Chiller, and we have a battle 10th place. Make sure you catch it down the inside. It's Jack and Zakaria. They're banging wheels, and here we go. Just like the F2 race we saw battling in this corner. Is it going to work itself out? They're contact, and luckily, no one is around. I don't know how.
And I think there was a bit of a lag collision because Jack's rear end went airborne and was underneath Red Fire's car, and Red Fire is up in the 10th ahead of Jack. So Jack, unfortunately, out of the points right now, and I want to catch that on stream just after Scyther passed Lewis Piper for 3rd place right now, and it looks like the Ferraris are going to switch positions. Scyther is taking 2nd from his teammate the Chiller.
I don't know if that was
Good
intentional.
call by the Ferrari pair.
But I know the Chiller's got no battery though in that car, 30-something%. You kind of have to let Scyther go at that point and fight another day with that one. How about Lewis Piper, who's got himself in good position for this race out of the guys who've not pitted, right behind the Chiller. I know there's what, 5 people who've not pitted in this race, 6 it's gonna be, I think. So
It's 5 because Sicaria
five,
just came into the pits.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, so 5 people who have not pitted. Considering that factor and Lewis Piper right behind the Chiller, if there's another safety car or it goes their way, they've set themselves up perfectly right here. And a good run by those guys and the McLarens.
Looks like I'm just taking a look at this now. Looks like George is his teammate right behind him, and Crispy has Tadpole right behind. The Aston Martin's handling pretty decently, and I just saw in the background, Bonkers just cleared Red Fire to get himself into the points.
Yeah, that was going to be done sooner or later, it looked like, and Scyther sets another fastest lap in this race. Fair play to him on those hard tires. That's going to be the battle for the lead, which we'll have to watch out for soon. Here's Lewis Piper getting overtaken by Josh. That was easy move on the straight with DRS. And yeah, we'll watch out for Scyther and Fake TB, because that's going to be the battle for the win, I think, at this rate, with the way we're going.
Yeah, Scyther is just trying to close in to get into DRS range. The Aston Martin's just switched. And
it was a slide from Redfire,
Yeah.
sorry to cut in. Yeah, that slide from Redfire, he got ahead, but then he caused himself a position from that slide. Sorry to cut in there.
Josh just overtook the Chiller for 3rd. Just
Fair
wanted
play.
catching that part. And just a slight side note, with Gerard and Florian being DNF'd, Haas has still yet to score points in tier 1 so far. And now they're going another round with no points.
Yeah, with the way they've started off their season, I don't think it's a surprise, but it is a disappointment to say the least. Last week was the first race this season, and is so far the only race that both Haas cars finished the race. That's where Haas are at right now. Not good at all in battle and change for the lead. Scyther caught Fake
Absolutely.
TB. He's got the lead, and he's got him under pressure. Look at the battery, too.
Yeah, Scyther gets by, I believe, on the outside against TB. TB was thinking about trying to attack back into turn 1, but just couldn't get it done. Aston Martin's just switched again going into turn 1, and Red Fire just retook 10th place from Bonkers.
Or Beatnik.
Now TB
Oh, yeah,
now on the
Beatnik,
back
sorry.
foot against Scyther. I was just going to be wondering to see. I wonder if TB is going to look for another shot later on in this lap.
Collided right there, by the way. That was close. Yeah, sorry to cut it. I got confused with the Reese and Beatnik stuff because they traded places right there. And yeah, I mean, the thing with Beatnik is if you're not gonna get points based on how slow the car is, why not try to stay out and wait for something? It looks like that's what he's doing. But the Aston pair, they just look like at turn 5 right there, they were coming close to collision. And Tadpole's heating them up. Now Jack Miles in DRS. And wait for Redfire and Bonkers to get in DRS because it's not going to be long till that happens.
Yeah, we're on for the stream side. We're on board with Tadpole as Lewis Piper is coming in. One of the 5 remaining drivers to come in. Now I'm betting this is going to ring some bells to the chiller. Thinking, should I try to pit to try to prevent... I'm thinking if Lewis Piper, is he looking for an undercut on the chiller? I think the chiller might need to take some notes and knowing about with Lewis Piper what he's going to be up to. Lewis Piper just got his stop done. He's just coming out of the pits now. He is going to be just behind Stenner in the 14th position. So with Lewis Piper finishing his pit, that leaves Stenner, Beatnik, Reese, and the chiller left to get a pit stop done. And this is going to really suck for Reese because he is over 5 seconds behind the 10th place car of Red Fire.
Yeah, it's not a good day for both Red Bulls. If they wanted to extend their lead, today was not the day because right now you got, what, 1 point for pole, 1 point for fastest lap, 17 for Scyther, the Chiller's got 12. And this is as it stands, because of course the Chiller's on a different pit strategy, but I mean, we're looking at potentially the gap being anywhere from 25 points or smaller with the rate we're going. It's not looking good. I mean, but the good thing for the second Red Bulls and Ferraris is, you know, both of them yet to pit with the Chiller and Reese. So we'll watch that once it happens and what the gap difference is between both those guys. Big battle still for 5th place.
Absolutely, and just looked a tiny bit further back. Red Fire was thinking about sneaking a peek on Bonkers to get himself into P9, but just couldn't seem to get it done right now. Now Scyther right now has increased his lead over TB. He is 1.4 seconds clear of TB right now. So looks like TB is going to be slightly behind Scyther as these laps progress, and I think TB, he's gonna have to worry a little. He might have to be keeping his eyes behind him because Josh H is slowly crawling up to try to possibly take second from TB.
Yeah, he's had a quiet race.
At one point, Josh was 1.8 seconds behind TB.
Yeah, he's had a quiet race, I must say. Sorry to cut in again. Yeah, I think Josh has had a quiet race. TB on that strategy, which looks to be either one you barely get to the end on or a 2-stop. If he's going for a 2-stop, he's going to have to pit soon enough here. But he's hoping on a safety car for sure, as we see a swap between Redfire, Tiger, and Bonkers. Just a little quick swap in the straight. And Lewis Piper passes his lap now, so he steals that bonus point off of Scyther and overtake done there.
Yeah, Lewis Piper was setting that fastest lap, only 0.07 of a second faster than Scyther's fastest lap. So yeah, it's 1 point taken from that.
Oh boy, we'll get an invite.
Yeah, Josh just disconnected from the session, and Josh is sitting in 3rd. I think this is gonna bring back some bit of flashbacks, bad flashbacks for Mercedes because the last time something happened to Mercedes in 3rd, we're going back to Jeddah for round 2. Well, TB's into the pits now.
Yeah, Kipu spun there. And by the way, in the beginning parts of Sector 3, there was a big contact between both Aston and Titan. You're going to have to get the Mercedes back in. I do not have him added through EA. However, the Astons, I don't know how they've not both gone around there, or at least one of them, because they're coming close to collision with the way they're racing right now. You would think someone's saying, from the team principal point of view, or one of them, just don't collide, because they touch the back of one another. at the beginning of Sector 3, and they're about to do it again.
Ooh, that was a little close. But anyways, like I was trying to say was that back in Jeddah, we had a Mercedes, Cookie. He was sitting in third, and then wound up crashing out after clipping the inner wall of turn 8, and he wound up crashing out of third place. But now, unfortunately, Josh having to deal with a disconnection. I know Luke is watching this session because he joined a little while ago. Luke is gonna have to get Josh back in.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because the Astons are coming, but the Astons are also costing themselves making that bit of contact that they did. You know, so if they just continue to make contact, they're not going to help themselves catch the Mercedes here because you think about it, with the way they're going, obviously Jack Miles pits, but assuming this turns out with no safety cars and fake TBs charged to the field, doesn't go as planned because of track position, as we see another position swap. This battle with the Astons could potentially be for the podium, by the way, if Josh does not get back in soon enough.
Indeed. So with Jack all set. So Jack doing his stop right now. I believe this is his second stop of the event. And Reese has come in, by the way. He's got his stop done. So that leaves 3 drivers left to get a stop in. That is Stenner, Beatnik, and DeChiller. DeChiller, who's currently in second, he's got 22 laps on those hard compound tires. Now, he's currently 7.7 seconds behind his teammate. Now, if he winds up pitting, he will come out ahead of Stenner in 10th place.
Yeah, Beatnik, Stenner, DeChiller. Those are the 3 you have to put in this race. They're hoping on a safety car. If they're not hoping on a safety car, then they're simply hoping on the fact that something
I think that's what
happens.
DeChiller's probably hoping for. He's hoping for a 3rd safety car to show up. Just as Bonkers has come into the pits now.
Josh has joined back.
There's Josh. Josh has returned back. Now, unfortunately, with Josh missing out a lot, he's still 3rd. That's the plus side. Unfortunately, he is now almost 6 seconds behind DeChiller, and he's got George and Crispy coming up as TB just passing Red Fire to get himself into 7th.
To put this into perspective, Titan, if DeChiller pits and there's no safety car with the rest of this race, which with the battling you can maybe say there is, but with the nature of RPL, you just never know. There might be, there might not be. Who knows? We've seen crazy things happen. With DeChiller, if he pits right now and there's no safety car, he comes out 9th. With where he's at, he comes out 9th. And like I said about the difference with the Ferraris and the Red Bulls, that does put some stuff to the wound if there's no safety car, but it will help them massively in the constructors if there is one. And again, leaving the session, Josh, that's the 2nd time, and they're right within DRS right now for 3rd place.
This is not good for Josh at all, because now he's going to wind up falling to 5th or even worse than that. But yeah, I think with DeChiller, he's going to be going long on the hards. He'll pit and go onto the soft compound tire.
Yeah, you have to. There's no other choice.
Yeah, he'll probably pit in the softs. He'll come out in 9th. And I think if he gets enough timing, he'll probably maybe try to get himself back into 7th.
Reese just set the fastest lap with those softs, and the thing is, Reese and Beatnik, who hadn't pitted it, well, Reese had pitted, but Beatnik hadn't before. The thing about it is, Beatnik hadn't pitted and he's gone to the softs. He went from, what was it, either mediums or hards to softs. So, with the route that DeChiller's going, he has to pit for softs. He has no other choice. However, I don't know what he'll do this lap, but if there's a safety car in the next couple laps, that is the perfect scenario for him. He gets to pit from 2nd. Other guys may stay out, but if they do, if there's a few who stay out, he doesn't get overtaken by many, and they get to gain so many points in Red Bull to where they could potentially be within single digits at the end of this. Could be interesting if there's a safety car, but all the what-if scenarios there, right there.
Absolutely. Speaking of what's this, we have a 3 wide. Three
Oh
wide
my
to turn
goodness.
one between both Astons and TB, and
He got 'em
TB
both.
wins it and gets both of them.
I can't believe that. He came on a charge. Those mediums with those compared to those hards are working beautifully. He could take second if the chiller waits to pit. I mean, let's say it's lap 30, okay? Let's say it's lap 30. I think he could pass him before that at this rate. Fake TV's on a run with those mediums. This Kippu
Looks like
spins.
Kippu has gone for a spin in TV8, and he's gonna be passed by the chiller very shortly here. But Kippu is now a lap down. But yeah, what a maneuver by TB to get by both of the Aston Martins. He came out on top, the victor in that three-way fight. Unfortunately, in George's case, he wound up becoming the biggest loser in that fight.
Yeah, the Astons are having a field day. They're going to extend that gap for third place in the third
Harris
to fourth
is
place.
in.
Yep, there you go. You just had to at some point. Safety car wasn't coming out, so if a safety car does come out, he's going to be punching himself in the face, though. But those Astons, by the way, extending that gap with the Mercedes and the constructors after this. Kudos to them, and they still could have a podium after this. Who knows? Here they go again! Rogers down the inside.
The Aston Martin's battling it out again. And the chiller, by the way, I thought he was going to pit and go onto the sauce to try to go for fastest lap. No, he's not. He is on the medium tires. So he's going to go 7 laps on the medium tires. I think that's I don't know if that's that was a good idea. But George and Crispy, because they're battling, look who just reconnected and took advantage of their fight. Josh H is back in it. He's up in the 4th.
Yeah, I saw that at a turn 3. I think Crispy, it looked like he let Josh go. And I didn't mean to cut in there, but was confused by that. And now he goes down the inside, entering Sector 3, keeps it on the inside line for it, making sure of no switchback, gets ahead, 3rd place it is his. How about that? Yeah, I was confused with Crispy there. I was wondering, why in the world did he let him go? But it's allowed him ahead of both Astons now. I think that might have been planned. I was just confused. It didn't make sense to me at the time.
Absolutely. Now we have about 6 laps left to go in this Grand Prix. And crazily enough, just like it was in Q1 and in Q3, we have a Ferrari in the front, a Red Bull in 2nd, and a Mercedes in 3rd. It's going to be quite interesting, to say the least. I believe if my memory's right, last week, if
Center penalty.
thing will pop up. Nope. Okay, yeah, it's going to be close there. Yeah, definitely. Stenner is in the penalty box. Now, Zakaria, a few laps ago, was in the penalty box as well.
Only 2.
And this is not good for Zakaria because he is trying to challenge Cryptic for the 11th place position. And Jack moved out of the way to let Reese by into 12th. Now, Reese, though, is going to have a bit of a problem because, I mean, without the 3-second penalty, Reese has 4.4 seconds to catch Zakaria, and to Cryptic to get himself back into points. Reese has 4.6 seconds to claw back, and there's only 5 laps left in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, Zakaria and Cryptic also traded spots there about a little over half a lap ago. It was on the main straight, and it was just easy DRS pass. But I saw Cryptic slide there at turn 2. The turn 2, turn 3 spot, everybody is just sliding there. And I thought the move was going to be done back. It wasn't. Zakaria's coming back, even with the penalty. And you might be thinking here, why is
Zakaria is going to go down the inside against Cryptic into turn 1, and he just chops it to get ahead of Cryptic and gets himself into 10th place. Cryptic thinking about trying to fight back. Gets a slightly better exit out of turn 3. Is he looking for a shot down the inside of 4? No, he does not. But Zakaria now up into 10th place. I mean, if he didn't have that penalty, he would keep that 10th place.
And people are probably thinking, why is he fighting a Mercedes there with the penalty? He's clearly going to be outside the points. However, if something happens in front of that, that leads him to 10th place, and he's trying to hold on over Reese, who's on the softs, and charging within that 3-second box. That is why. If something happens miraculously, say to Chiller or anyone else above him crashes out, it allows Zakaria to get in the top 10. That is why. And that is important for Alpine and the constructors, too.
Indeed, and speaking about with the chiller, he is right on the back end of Red Fire to look for an attack to get himself into the 8th place position. Aston Martins has switched again in front of Tadpole and Lewis Piper. Lewis Piper was thinking maybe I want to get a better shot to go against the Aston Martins, but unfortunately his team principal is in the way. His co-team principal is in the way.
Yeah, the Astons have done a decent job of actually not crashing because so many times they've come close, whether it's just hitting the rear tire just a little bit, little slight touching. They've done a good job not to crash it. They've raced aggressive. They've raced hard. They said, we're going to go balls to the wall. So we're going to race hard as we can. And they've done just that. But luckily, they've not cost themselves any places. They've not crashed. And I could jinx it too still with that being said. But they have done a good job. And they have 4 laps remaining just to hang on here. So, kudos to them.
Indeed, and speaking about what kudos, we definitely have to give ourselves kudos to Crispy and George sitting 4th and 5th right now. I'm just gonna be polite when I say this, but since we have a driver today, if we have a team of the day, it's gonna be the Aston Martin team.
Agreed.
They played a quiet race. They played it competitively. They've been hanging around in the top 5 pretty much the entirety of this race. And especially with Crispy, who started all the way in dead last, and he is up in the 4th and is hanging on strong in that Aston Martin.
Yeah, I could see Crispy being the driver of the day at that point. Last in the grid to 4th. It's usually heard of when you're in a Ferrari, a Red Bull, or a Mercedes, but not that much of an Aston Martin, though. I give credit to him, and I don't think there's been many collisions this race, but if there has been anything involving Josh, which I don't think so, but if there has, they're within a 3-second window, of course. So obviously good things there as well, and I have to give a credit to the drivers too with 3 laps remaining. Only 2 drivers with penalties in the same move. Whoa, that was late, and that was
very ballsy by the chiller. Gets past Lewis
2-1.
Piper into turn 10 and gets clear of Tadpole in 11. Wow.
Yeah, Tadpole made a mistake there as well after he got passed by the chiller, and he just let Lewis Piper go. I don't know if that was meant or not. And Josh lagging out again. That's exactly what I mean by the curse of Josh.
Josh is just having problems, to say the least, and there's only 3 to go. The chiller is hounding George's back end. George deciding to go to the inside against his teammate. Contact between the Astons, and Crispy goes around.
Oh, it was just going to happen at some point.
And Crispy's crashed.
Oh, I told you these Aston Martins, man. They were racing so tough, and it just was going to be at some point or another, and they happened to have it happen with 3 laps to go. Oh, man. Crispy's day was so good. He 20th to 4th, and now it just comes undone. Man. What the heck?
Oh, that's just heartbreak for certain, and I'm gonna say it. I think Cryptic and Beatnik are probably, if they caught wind of it, they're probably beating themselves up for that. They have a Mercedes having a problem. They have the Aston Martins doing so strongly this entire race, and it goes all to hell now as Josh just loses 3rd to the chiller because of the lag out, and Lewis Piper takes George for 5th place.
Add sugar to the wound with that Mercedes Academy. Another place lost for that Aston Martin, and potentially more places being lost for this Mercedes here with Josh. You're gonna have to get him an invite because I don't have him, and that's just unfortunate. It's just worse. Here's Grogger's challenging back once again, gets the move done. Easy DRS pass. I don't know who I would fault for the turn 1 collision, but if you fault Groggers for it, though, you could potentially be
Lewis
dropping
Piper's
down to 7th.
bumping and banging the back end of George, trying to rattle his cage a little bit, but George unfazed is up into 5th. I'm gonna be slightly honest. I don't know if George is gonna get himself into trouble. Oh, contact between Lewis Piper and George. Lewis Piper just muscles his way over.
Oh, not
just
more
gives
contact.
George a shove,
guys.
and is up into 5th. But now he's challenging Josh H to get himself into 4th. Josh H is back in the session.
Start the final lap.
And there goes Lewis Piper down the inside, and he is up in the 4th.
Hey, we talked about the Red Bull guys making contact. Now it's the Mercedes guys we're gonna give shit to for the contact. Oh my god, that's twice now. As we started the final lap, I was gonna give the drivers credit because 16 drivers left in this race and two with a penalty. You know, I think Spain used to be one of those races and previous games where it was penalty constant as we see more moves being made. Penalty constant with track limits and even with contact. And until the last couple laps, we've not had much contact today, and we've not had much track limit penalties. Fair play to the drivers besides the contact, though. More pushing, more shoving. 5th place. Roger staying ahead. Deadpool trying to challenge it, and Scyther comes to the last sector. Take it away, Titan.
Absolutely, just taking a look here as he was playing, as he had to deal with a little bit of challenges early on. Once he took the lead, it was just smooth sailing and comfortable runs all the way through as he comes out of the final corner, and he gets vengeance for Imola. Scyther wins in Spain, and now we just have to wait a little bit for the next drivers to come across. Coming out of the final corner, TB, good effort with the 2-stop strat, and he winds up finishing in 2nd place. Good effort for the Red Bull driver. And here comes the Chiller, last week's winner. He'll be on the podium again. He will cross the line in 3rd.
21 points to gain a Red Bull
Lewis
Ferrari, by the
Piper
way.
takes advantage of the muscling past George, gets himself 4th place. Tadpole gets P5, George 6th.
Finish.
Josh, multiple lagouts, had to deal with 7th.
Never mind. I was going to say Zakari was going to give Cryptic a photo finish, but never mind. No, the thing I cut in about, which apologies for that, 21 points, Ferrari gain in Red Bull. Perfect day to do it. 1-3. Kudos to them. The Chiller making that comeback from just I would call it a bad strategy, but it didn't work out that bad, did it? 21 points.
Indeed, and like I said, with Red Bull, they had to settle for 2 and 9, but they did get the fastest lap. So Red Bull will get 21 points compared to Ferrari's 33. No, sorry.
No, 41.
Compared to Ferrari's
with the
40,
point, right? 41
so,
point or no?
Reese got the fastest lap. He's a P9. He had the fastest lap.
Yeah, he had the fastest lap,
and
but
then TB, who had 2nd, is 18. So 18 and 3 is 21 for Red Bull.
Yeah,
but 1st and 3rd for Ferrari for 40. That means Ferrari gains 19 points in the constructors against Red Bull.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did Scyther get a pull for point or no? Or a point for pole, I meant. Or no?
So there it is. So Scyther is the winner in regards to Tier 1. TB 2nd, to Chiller 3rd, Lewis Piper 4, Tadpole 5, George 6, Josh 7, Redfire 8, Reese with the fastest lap gets 9th, Cryptic winds up finishing in 10th. That's the final point for them. Just missing out on the points is Bonkers in 11th, Jack finishing in 12th, Zakaria 13th, Stenner 14th, and then the rest of the field that are out, it is Beatnik and Kipu, both a lap down. They are 15th and 16th. Crispy, after an incident with his teammate DNS, he's 17th. Gerard 18th. Florian 19th, and Owen rounds it out in last place.
Fair play.
Well, in regards to everybody in this field, who do you got for your driver today? I'm curious to know who you think your driver today is.
Oh, I want to say Crispy, but that collision with his teammate kind of changed it there at the end. And I don't fault him for it either. I mean, if I'm not giving it to Crispy, I'm gonna give it to Scyther because that gap, what he was able to do throughout the whole weekend, led Q1, Q2, Q3. Didn't lead every lap, but he led most of the race in dominating fashion. Got it done. I was gonna ask, is there a pole point for Scyther? Because if there is, I think it's 20 points if there's a pole point, but if there's not, then that's 19.
No, there's no points for pole. It's only an F2.
So 19 then. You're right. Yeah, my bad on that. 19 points with Scyther, or not Scyther, a Ferrari Red Bull. And that's crucial to know because that's 17 points heading into Monaco. So, at the constructors. So, and what does the 9 points do with the top 3 now? That's what I'm interested to know.
I think currently at the moment, given where they are, so well, we know one thing. TB is going to take. TB is going to be taking second place back from Reese, and with his third place,
9 plus 7.
Darius is going to overtake Reese to get third.
Okay.
So unofficially right now, Scyther is going to have 94 points. TB is going to be second with 78. Darius is going to be third with 72. And Reese is going to be fourth with 69. Giggity.
Interesting. So yeah, I think the gap is 16 points. I was just questioning that. Yeah, it's 16 with Scyther and TB now. So yeah, I mean, Scyther extends the gap with driver standings. Ferrari closed their gap in the constructors. I mean, how about a good day to be a Ferrari Academy driver? Maybe not a good day to be a Red Bull Academy driver or a Mercedes Academy driver. I don't know. I mean, that was not.
Gonna say, I think
well.
I think it's gonna be a bad day to be pretty much. I think it's gonna be a bad day to be in Aston Martin. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Between
well,
those
I mean,
two.
The thing is, I noticed, turn 10, or I think it's turn 10. That's the first corner of sector 3. I think they kept touching wheels at that point. Turn 5 as well. They kept touching the rear to front wheels, and I thought to myself, they're gonna collide at one point. And as soon as I give them credit for racing hard and battling it out, not colliding, what do? They collide. So it's just, it puts salt to the wound. It's a bummer for them, and I think that does kind of affect the points for third place as well with Aston and Mercedes. We focus on, of course the battle at the front, but the Aston and Mercedes battle is another thing too for third place that it kind of changes. I know it's the same academy, but there's still a battle there with them guys for third place with that, and that's what affects it when you have teammates who collide. And I don't know who I'd give driver of the day to between Scyther and Crispy. Probably Scyther. After Crispy got crashed there, I would say that might go to the storage room. I'm gonna think it does, unless they're saying, hey, don't report it, one of our guys could get a penalty with the Mercedes Academy. I don't know, that we'll find out about that within the week. But the thing is, I think 20th to 4th is impressive, but leading the whole weekend basically, except for all the laps, most laps he led with Scyther. After completing that, unlike Crispy, I have to give him the credit, but Crispy comes a close second with what's that 20th to 4th, what would have been. It's only what would have been for him. Who would you give driver of the day to?
Well, had they not collided, driver today would have gone to Crispy, no doubt in my mind. He did phenomenally well. He really had it going strong for him.
Just a bummer.
But unfortunately, with that collision, that wound up taking him out. Well, with him out of it, driver today, I'm actually having a toss-up between two Alpine Academy drivers. Those two being Lewis Piper and Tadpole. Tadpole was hanging around with both of the Aston Martins, waiting for them to make a mistake. They wound up making a mistake. He wound up capitalizing, and also Tadpole started in 14th, and he wound up flying it into 6th or 7th place. And then Lewis Piper taking advantage of not only the Aston Martin screwing up, but also when Josh came back, he wound up taking advantage of Josh's problems to finish in 4th. Especially with Lewis Piper literally just shoving his way to get past George for 5th place. That was actually it was very aggressive, might be slightly dirty, but Lewis Piper, he pulled a bit of an unorthodox and wild move to gain a position.
Yeah, with Tadpole.
I'm thinking driver today is between one of those two Alpine Academy drivers.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to add in about Tadpole. We mentioned his qualifying, right? We mentioned how it's a surprise to see him there. We thought we would have seen him close to Zakaria. What the heck's going on with him? But we now know what was going on. Unless it was just a bad qualifying, we know that he was prioritizing his race more than his qualifying, and it paid off perfectly for him. credit to Tadpole. I mean, I I did not think that was going to happen. I thought he was going to gain places. Quite obvious. He's in an Alpine. You know, you're not going to stick in 14th the whole race, but I did not think he was going to have that impressive of a drive. I would say he's one of my top 3 candidates. I wouldn't say he's top 2, but he's definitely my 3rd place guy with that, though. But yeah, next week is Monaco, same time for round 7. F2 is at Qatar, and yeah, I did say how tier 2 was excuse me, I said how they have never been to Qatar. Yeah, you're right. Qatar was the F1 Tier 2 season opener. But it's the first time, like you said, the F2 guys go to Qatar, and I know we don't think about it like it, with it being the 6th round at Qatar, but it's valuable track time with all the leagues that people run and all the series for these guys to get track time in preparation for Qatar for F1 Tier 1 later in the season, which is in October, you know? And F2 being at Qatar, F1 Tier 2 being at Texas next week. F2's at 11:15 Eastern, 4:15 UK. We won't have any F1 race that hinders that, I guess. So that's the good thing. As for Tier 2, 3 Eastern, 8 UK on the Friday, F2 being on the Saturday. So that'll be fun to watch next week. All 3 different kind of tracks, all 3 different areas. Man, that should be fun. I mean, Monaco, it's like a survival. Austin, Texas, it's great racing there. In Qatar, I've never commentated a Qatar race. Never. Qatar, Vegas, Vietnam, the 3 tracks I've never commentated. So I get to cross one of those off. I get to see what it's all about. Is everyone hyped about Qatar? Or is everyone like, oh, I don't really like this track? Everyone says it's hard to pass in real life, but we see tracks like Russia and France, which are different in the game, and I think that could be the case for Qatar too. So who knows? I'm interested to see what these drivers bring, because they are just all out every lap, like we saw with the Astons, even if they're teammates. So yeah,
it'll be interesting to see, especially later on in the Tier 1 season, because also in regards to F2, they've already visited another one. They already visited one of the newer tracks, which is Vegas.
Yep, exactly.
I wound up racing that, and it was actually really wild, to say the least. Tier 2, they're going to be seeing Vegas in round 9, which is currently in about 3 weeks.
I mean, you're all
now.
US from like US
Tier
area.
1 is not going to be seeing it until the 18th, until November. They won't be seeing that then.
Oh man.
Also, one other thing is that also Tier 2 yesterday, they had a different thing that happened.
Yes.
They wound up doing the way it worked was that they were testing a new sprint format. They were going to have the teams reverse. So basically, whoever was last in the constructors, they were starting on the front row for that sprint race, and whoever was top of the board was going to be starting at the back of the field. Now, apparently, it was from what I found out, it was actually deemed very successful. Now, I do not know when it's going to be happening, but I do know, and I can confirm, later on in the Tier 1 season, that sprint race reverse championship format that was done in Tier 2 yesterday is going to appear on the Tier 1 calendar. I don't know when, though, but it will be appearing then.
Here's my question for you. Did you like it? Because I know you said it was successful. What'd you think of it? Because you were in the race, I'm pretty sure, right?
I spectated it. I spectated the main race. I didn't see the sprint.
Okay. Yeah, what'd you think of that? Because I was not there for yesterday. I had a little bit of driver's ed that I had to do. So, was it?
I mean, to be
good?
honest, I thought the whole format seemed a little bit
wonky.
Seemed a little bit on the ridiculous side at first when I first heard about it. But then when Cryptic was explaining it and went in depth on how it worked, I basically turned it over. I'm like, yeah, I think let's give it a try. I think it'll be quite interesting to see how this will fare. And it worked. It went pretty good. Apparently, from what Cryptic told me. And since it was quite successful and it'll be happening in Tier 1, it'll be very interesting to see. Like I said, we don't know which track it's going to appear at yet. There's a couple ideas being bounced around on when, but we'll just have to wait and see later on when the time comes when that is going to occur.
What track would you like to see it at? Because we could go over that quickly now before we end the stream. Because I'm gonna say,
well, since
there's a
the
couple.
format happened in Tier 2 in Spa, one of the ideas possibly was going to be Tier 1 Spa itself, which is round 12. One suggestion I put out was actually round 13, which is in the Netherlands. But we'll have to wait and see on what's going to happen there. But anyway, so the stream is all set for
That's just me.
this week. So like Ryan Alcon mentioned, next week Tier 2 is going to be at Circuit of the Americas in Texas. F2 is going to be doing round 7 in Qatar, which Ryan Alcon will be on commentary for both of those events. And then you'll see me, and hopefully I'll see you as well, hopefully commentating with me as well for Tier 1 next week at Monaco for Tier 1. But, I mean, even though we worked together for just this race today, I actually had a blast.
Yeah, I agree. I don't remember the last time I co-com with somebody. I think it was like early March, and I could tell I'm still a little rusty. But you know what? I must say I'm impressed to do it again. I like it. It's different than doing it for Tier 2 and F2 like that. And as I was saying about the suggestion, I think I'm interested to see if Qatar does not provide, and I just want to add this up before you end. If Qatar does not provide a decent race for Tier 2, I feel like Qatar could work for it, if it's not Belgium or Netherlands, to maybe provide a better race, because you thought Netherlands, right? And it's like, you think of the track like that. Not much overtaking usually. What could provide more overtaking? Oh, this kind of format. Netherlands, Qatar, those are two tracks. If Qatar is not great for Tier 2, then maybe we could see it there. And sorry, not Tier 2, F2, excuse me. Wow, yeah, I got that sorted. But you get the point, though. If it's not good for F2 Qatar with overtaking, then that would be interesting to try, in my opinion, personally. But there's so many different tracks you could fly out for it. If it's used for Tier 1, we'll have to see which round it will be, and we'll definitely announce it on stream, whether it be you or me or whoever, whether it's be me through Tier 2 or F2 or you through Tier 1, whoever announces it, we'll keep the viewers updated, for sure. And yeah, no, I enjoyed commentating with you. It's the first time since
just before
2020.
Just before we say goodnight to our stream and our viewers here, just a slight update here. We just saw a video from Reese. We found out what happened between Reese and Stenner on lap 12, where they spawned in TV3 in turn 8. In Reese's clip, in Reese's video, Stenner actually lost control of the car and spun out in front of Reese on the exit of turn 8. And Reese had nowhere to go, tapped into the back of Stenner, and then Reese was then tapped in the back by Cryptic, and that's why Cryptic got the damage, and that's why Reese and Stenner was spun out. Interesting turn of events. Yeah, no, I was just gonna add quickly. Yeah, not the first time me and Titan have commentated. For those of you still watching, with a couple of you, yeah, the last time me and Titan commentated was in F1 2019 League at Germany, right before COVID started, or right as COVID started. So not the first time, but the first time since really the start of the pandemic, or the right pre-pandemic. So kind of reunion, I'll call it, for those of you who are interested in that fun fact. So yeah, there you go. We'll see you next week. Should be fun. Yeah, indeed. So from RPL Streams, Titan Ironwolf, joined by Ryan Archon. We'll say good night and see you guys later. Bye bye.